Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I thought I'd answer a few comments. Some of them questions, some of them just comments, but worth just going through and showing you the variety of stuff that we get. So the first one that catches my eye, let me see. And bearing in mind I'm not great at looking these things up on the phone. Excuse me a second. Okay, so I'm back. So the first one, William says, hello Terence and Beth, how are you doing? I have a question for you based on your experience there. When I do come out there, would it be better to buy some condos to rent and live in one, or to buy a house? And another question, if I open a go-kart track for kids, would it be a good business there? I was just wondering what both of your thoughts are. Oh boy, the thought of having a go-kart track close by that we could actually go to and take a spin around in a go-kart, I would love that. But that's just what I would love, because I did answer this comment underneath the question. But William, because we're actually dealing all the time with people who are the poorest of the poor, and when you're dealing with people that are so poor as what we experience, it would be hard to visualize how there would be people that could afford to do that. But then I'm only judging that on the experience of the people that we meet. I mean, we live in the mountains, and people don't have a huge amount of money. They're still building houses with open fire cooking because they don't trust that they'll be able to pay the power bill. They tend to limit their need of say a refrigerator because of the electricity, the bills, because electricity is quite expensive here in the Philippines, and it's the bill is levied at you in a way that defies logic sometimes. We went for a while thinking, wow, we are so lucky, because we were having what we thought were very reasonable bills of in the hundreds and possibly just tipping into the thousand. And it went like that for a little while, and then we got a bill for 23,000 pesos, and Beth, of course, we all went into shock, and then Beth went down to the power company and she spoke to them there, and they said that the explanation was something which would defeat, I think, the process of logic in the average foreigner's mind. They said that others had been paying part of our bill. I don't know how that can work, because everyone has a meter, and whatever you are using is metered on as to what your bill should be. So we tried to explain that, or to understand that, and then they said that it would be that the bill would be then levied out over several bills until everything had worked out. And I never got it, and like many other things that I find in the Philippines, I don't let logic get in the way of a good story. And so yeah, would I think that was a great idea? I think it's a great idea. There's nothing like it. Actually, for great ideas, they're worth a try. in spite of the way that things are going at the moment, as far as the virus, the whole virus thing, lockdowns, quarantines, travel restrictions, all of this, in spite of everything that's going on like that now, and I know that I've digressed again, I am not finding, my experience does not tell me, going out every day. We go to Taliban, which is a growing town. It's actually growing. They've done the port. They've got a very nice port. They've done a little 200-yard long prom. They've cleaned things up. There's a huge industrial complex is planned on reclaimed land from the sea, because we're right on the coast. And there's all kinds of stuff is happening. There are restaurants are springing up. Someone, I think it's called Buzz, the Buzz chain of the franchise of a group called Buzz Restaurants have now opened up a very, very nice restaurant in the Alturas, on the Alturas first floor. And they are, I don't know what kind of business they're doing. They're not doing any business with us because they have the menu outside, and to be honest, we're still looking at the, what is it, the right hand side or the left hand side of the bill of the menu, at how much things are costing, and we have to, we do okay, but we are careful. And when we go to Vedasto, even Vedasto has increased, seems to us that they've increased their prices, but not ridiculously. So it's still within what we think is reasonable. And we go there. The food is very good. We can still go, when my friend Michael and I go to Vedasto on a Sunday, we go on a Sunday so that we can have a little, we call it a sanity reclamation, or a sanity limitation session, and we sit and we chat like a couple of old men over the way that we used to live, because we're both from Manchester, so we have a lot in common. But everything seems to be, it does seem to be growing, and Michael and Bonnie have a store in Taliban, and they are going to be opening a fish store. That's where you can go, and they'll have lots of aquariums. I used to see these all the time in the UK, where you could go in and you could see fish in aquariums in very nice little environments. And for some of the larger fish, you could actually choose a fish that you were going to eat. But he's also breeding now. He's breeding, I think, tilapia. They have a farm which is right on the reservoir. It's like a beautiful lake. When it's the rice season and all of the rice fields have to be irrigated, then the water goes down, but it's still very picturesque and very pretty to look at. Let me ask what that his site is. What is that site of Michael's? It's an expat living
in the Philippines.
What?
Expat living in the Philippines.
An expat living in the Philippines. You should go to that site, because unlike I am more on what I think of as the creative side about making things and stuff like that. But Michael is a former engineer, if you're ever former anything. I mean, I'm a former musician and artist, but I still do all of that. So you can go there, and he has lots of interesting things that he's doing. For one thing, he's breeding rabbits. Now, for you, William, thinking of introducing a go-kart track. I mean, heavens, I've never heard of that in the Philippines. So a go-kart track would be an innovative thing. We are just seeing these little amusement stores where you can go in, like say if you're American, Chuck E. Cheese. You could go in there and there were all kinds of games, right? Well, Michael is introducing the fish thing, but in his farm he has all kinds of interesting things going, and is able to explain what it is. Now, as I said, he's a former engineer, so he works things out. I tend to be on a wing and a prayer, but he knows exactly what he's doing and can explain it. And as I said, he's introducing as a meat, he's introducing rabbit. Now, he buys rabbits which are not pet breeds. Apparently, I never knew this. I come from just after the Second World War, and meat was on ration even when I was a child. I was born in 1939, so I lived through 5 years of being at war, and we used to eat rabbit all the time. And when we were over at Michael's a couple of days ago, we had a look at his rabbit, his little collection of rabbits, and as he said, you know, it's not hard to breed them. What was the saying? Breeding like rabbits. so that's something that he's going to introduce. Now, he'll have to go out and probably have one of those little tiny stalls set up just to offer rabbit meat on a toothpick. You know, so people pass by and say, come on, just taste this is rabbit. And people will be able to taste it and hopefully generate an interest in what is a new business. How you would do it if you really loved, I would imagine you have to know exactly what you're doing to run go-karts. When I was living in the UK and I used to visit America, I used to go to Texas, and I did several trips to Texas. Now, when I was there in Texas, there was a go-kart track, and you could go there and you could of course sit in a go-kart and just what I term an ordinary go-kart, but you could also upgrade in price as well, and you could drive what really looked like a tiny Formula One car. They were just incredible, beautiful, and they were made by Renault, and so that was a thriving business. So who knows, that would be great. The only thing I'd suggest is, can you set it up near enough to me that I can come and enjoy it myself? So who knows. The other thing that William was interested in was, would it be good, or would it be better as a kind of generating income to buy a whole load of condos? So you would buy, say, 5 condos and you would live in one of them. Would that be a good business? Well, let me see what a row of little townhouses that were very, very nice, and that was Lovely May and Dwayne, the Hendersons. That's where they lived for a while, where their house was being built, and that place was really nice. They paid 8,000 pesos a month for it, which I thought was a really good deal. You know, just for let me see, it was a 3-bedroom apartment that I had in Mabalacat, which is not too far. It's San Fernando, and it's not too far from Mangalese. which is in the mainland, Luzon. Now I paid 6,000 for a small apartment, but it was very, very nice. So 6,000 there. We've seen places here which you can rent for 3,000. So if you were to come over anytime soon, you could easily, as an MO, your method of operation, you could easily come over. You could come and go into a boarding house, not a boarding house, but like a motel come hotel, and you could do that for around 1,000 or 1,200 to 1,400 for a room, air-conditioned room with bathroom and all of that, in town. And you could move in there and you could live quite comfortably there while you looked around to see what your options were. And you know, the way that I see it is, you could come in, you could go into a hotel until you looked around, and believe me, you could get almost any tricycle driver, tricycle taxi driver, and say, I'm interested in looking at places for rent, as a go-between. And I'm sure that for very little money, that tricycle driver would take you around to all of the places that were rentable. So you could go and you could rent on a short term until you found what you want to do and where you want to do it. So should you have a condo, it doesn't necessarily mean that you would have to live in the city. I just think of it that way. But yes, you could do that quite easily. A lot of people come out, and for some strange reason, I did have somebody that talked about, he was going to come out here and he was going to set up a piggery. Nothing could entice me, and no amount of money could entice me into running a piggery. They're just pigs. They stink, they sound terrible, they stink, they're ugly. This is my viewpoint. It's the way I think, and I wouldn't want it for myself. But there are people who want to do that and have made a success at it. So what the heck? You go for what you want. My own suggestion is that you should find out when you're here. Go around and have a look at what's happening here. But first of all, enjoy being here. That's what I would suggest. I used to say that one of the best pieces of advice you could have when you come into the Philippines was, come here, keep your mouth shut and your eyes and your ears open. So don't pass any world-changing, world-shaking opinions about anything. Just have a look at the way that things are done. You know, one of the things that foreigners can be accused of, and that is that they can be accused of coming from a country where things are so much more organized, but therefore so much more regulated, that they think that they can change everything here. And sorry, it's not going to happen. Filipinos are not going to change everything about how they've been doing things for years just because you know, and you may well know how to do it so much better, but it won't happen. Change is hard won, even when you're really seeking it and working for it. It's hard won. So if you're talking to someone who is not really unhappy with the way that things are, as long as he can earn a living, then change won't come easily. It just won't. So I hope that we never got past the first comment. Let me see, can I give the bums rush through another few comments, ones that I can remember. Someone said, can you just stop calling her your adopted daughter? We know that she's adopted, and now what's her name? She has a name. It's just one of those things, you know, that's the way that Beth sees the titles. I don't interfere too much with the titles, so you get them, and essentially Beth is someone whose English is not her first language, but she knows 2 or 3 Filipino languages. She knows Cebuana, I think it's Cebuano. She knows Tagalog, she knows Visayan, and she also speaks pretty good English. And so why would I interfere on that? I have my own stuff that I do. I usually answer comments like I'm answering now, and we go out and we do our house building, and we've worked out how it can be done. Maybe we're not doing it as professional contractors may be doing it, but we're doing it, and not too many other people can say that they are doing it. So whatever critics come forward and criticize the way that we speak or our titles, I remember we used to get a lot of criticism for how we titled things. I remember that some of the early titles that we did, one we were actually going to, as a little playful secret, we were going to go in, and we'd been watching this house that we pass every day from our main road up to our house, and this particular house was on a hill in a beautiful location, and it had been at what Beth would say stagnant for quite a while. So it was evident whenever a house build gets to a certain point and then it moves no further, it's usually because of finance. So we decided that the frame was there, and we would go in and take 3 or 4 of the Supermen team with all the materials, and we would swoop in there early one morning, and we'd work the day secretly, and we would Amacon cladding the whole house. We're not talking about a huge house, by the way. So, and we do that and then leave. Now the family that were building that house lived not too far, but out of sight. So we called that the secret house in the mountains. And it was, of course, the way that it materialized, as I've explained before, just as we were about to do that, the family got the money, got the Amacon, and started in doing it themselves. So that didn't stop us from helping. We decided that we'd go in. So we went in, we talked to the family, and we told them what our little trick was going to be, and they said, how about we come in and help you to finish your house? And that's what we did. And it to this day it's still called the secret house in the mountains. Well, we got people that said, well, it's not a secret, is it? I mean, if they know, it's not a secret. And yes, you're right, it's not. And the adopted daughter thing, not everybody knows everything about us, and so other people may decide that, oh, that's okay, and we don't normally get criticized on that. So nothing that we ever do will be a pleasure to everyone, and sometimes it's a little bit like they used to say about television, ruining children. or if you really hated a program, you were the ultimate censor of that program, because you've got a remote and you can just go click off, and that's what we think as well. If we, as one of our subscribers said, if you give money away, people will be unhappy about that. Well, what's the money being used for? And if you buy stuff and give that, they'll think that you're not paying as much as you say you are, so you're creaming money off. It really doesn't matter what you do. You do this, you're screwed. You do that, you're screwed. So in the end, you do what you think is right, and you keep accounts which are viewable by the government bodies like the BIR, and the tax people, the MBI. These people can come in and look at our accounts, and there's no problem. So we try to please everybody, and it's not always possible, but we do get the most incredible, inspiring, encouraging comments which can bring us to tears, because they are so good, and they're encouraging us to keep going, which of course we fully intend to do. But that doesn't mean that at times we go, what the heck, and then we just start back in again. And today we had a very rewarding day today, because we went to the Atafi police and we met with the officers of the PNP down there. They're men and women, and we now know them because we've worked with them, because they have volunteered on some of the houses that we built. So that's in Atafi, we know them there, and also we're working with them at the moment, the officers from the PNP in Taliban, so we know them too. But in Atafi, because we were at the end of the project that we've been working on, they had made up a certificate of appreciation, and they had put it in a particularly nice way about thanking us for what we've been doing for some of the poorest of the poor. And it's encouraging to get that, and we will be showing that certificate at some point. I think that we left it somewhere, so it could be. What happened to that certificate today, Beth?
I leave it because...
Did we take a picture of that, I hope?
No.
No?
No, yeah, no.
Yeah, what? Yeah, no.
Are we gonna put
that
that
was
on the
a Filipino.
application?
That was a Filipino response. No, yes, no, yes, no. Maybe. So what? We did what?
We're gonna include that on the application. Paperwork.
I see. We're including that in our paperwork. Okay. Well, I started to say goodbye, and then I did a U-turn, and I did a Beth. Beth is the master of the long goodbye, and I'm getting corrupted by it. So thanks for looking in, and bye for now.